Dagger brushes. If you're wondering if you should use one and which one to use and how to use it, well, I'm hoping that at the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to do. Especially if you're a beginner, you'll want to know which one's for you. I'm comparing two similar looking brushes, both from Rosemary and Co. By the way, I'm not sponsored by the company. These are just my own findings. I love value and I love versatility. One is a synthetic, slightly stiffer Shiraz Dagger, and the other is a softer, more flexible Sable blend. Both are 1/2 inch. What they both have in common is a sword, a tip, a long edge, and a belly. I'll be comparing both brushes throughout the video, and we'll also learn to paint 6 different leaves that you can apply to your flowers today. And there'll be a few surprise tips throughout the video as well, so watch out for those. You may have heard a dagger brush can replace many brushes. Today we'll look at how it replaces a flat brush, a round brush, and a rigger brush. In order to get the best results from any dagger brush, you need to maintain its shape. Every time you wash them and every time you pick up paint, you need to nurture that flat shape. Now let's use some paint. I'm mixing a pool here of Prussian Blue, and I'm using an old brush to do so. The reason being, it's easy to damage the bristles of your good brushes when picking up paint or mixing paint. If you've ever noticed your brush looking a little bit frizzy on the outside, it's damaged. So here we have a lot of blue. Now I'm going to squeeze this out. Look, and see all that paint? We don't want to waste it. The first thing I'm going to show you is how the dagger brush, whether synthetic or sable, can replace at least 3 other brushes or more. Let's compare first to a flat brush. This is a Squirrel Mix flat brush that I've also had for many years. This one is from Art Basics. Now let's try the synthetic dagger. I'm making sure to pick up the paint by pressing down with the whole flat of the brush, maintaining its flat shape while it's drinking up all the paint. And I just have to make sure that I'm not dripping. So I need to gently wipe it out. And now let's see what happens when I use my synthetic Shiraz Dagger. I'm using my Mont Marte Visual Diary sketchbook to practice in. You can practice on any student grade paper, just not printer paper. See how I'm pressing it in to make sure it gets a really good drink of that paint. And those drips need to go because that is excess. And this is the performance of the Sable blend. As you practice these brush strokes, you'll start to see applications, just like in my previous video where we talk about brush strokes before paint, and I've linked it up here. The wide brush stroke might be for a wide leaf, and the synthetic brush stroke may give you wonderful textures. Check out this beautiful feather. Even though it holds a lot more, you still get beautiful brush strokes from both. Now let's compare to a round brush. This is a size 10 Sable blend round brush. I will pick up the paint and make a line. And now with my 2 daggers, if I look at them side on, they look like round brushes and they perform like them too. So I'll use my synthetic one first. When you fill your brush, you do it exactly the same way. Tap out the excess. And now with my long edge facing the paper, I can press down and look, I'll get a tip just like the round brush. Now I'll do the same thing with my Sable blend. So this is where I get to say, yes, the Sable really does hold a lot more water. But could it be desirable to have a drier dagger at times? I think so, especially for trees. I love the way the Shiraz can give me texture to my branches, and as it dries quickly, the branches become thinner and thinner. I'm not trying to say that one is better or worse than the other. They are just different. And now, how about a rigger brush? And now with my synthetic dagger, I'm going to use the long edge down. Look at that beautiful thin line. And this is the Sable blend. And getting back to the trees, I can get a lot of mileage for lots of little branches with my daggers. And another tip is you just don't have to change brushes. Have you found your favorite tip yet? Leave a comment below. Tips like these frequently emerge from our tutorials over at school. Come and check us out. There's a 7-day free trial, no questions asked, and the door's always open. You can see it can replace a flat brush, a round brush, and a rigger, to say the least. Now let's try some practical applications that you're going to love to use. I'll show you 6 types of leaves that you can immediately add to your botanicals and make them pop. You can paint with one color or make it really fun and paint with 2. So I'll be demonstrating with 2. The secret to using them with 2 colors is to load it with one thin color, tea-like color. Load it completely, just not dripping. And now I have some very creamy Prussian Blue here on the end. And I'm just going to pick that up with the tip of my brush with the long edge down, because I will pick up less paint, creating a much finer line. And if I drag this along the paper, look at that beautiful stroke that we get. I call this the full sword shader. This is one of several strokes I teach in the brush strokes before paint video. Brush strokes that work really well for roses. There's a link up here in the corner if you'd like to see it. But for today, let me show you some simple strokes you can use to create beautiful leaves, all sorts of leaves, and it doesn't matter which dagger you have. Now for some step-by-step instructions so that you can easily get the hang of it. Throughout your painting process with a dagger brush, you need to continually be monitoring the shape of your brush. So you need to wash it, dab it out, and keep it flat at all times, whether you're picking up water or paint. Filling my brush with the thin paint and just applying a little bit of creamy paint to the end. I'm ready for my first leaf. It's the long edge in leaf. With the long edge of the brush on the inside of the leaf, I press down with the sword first, and as I approach the end of the leaf, I can come again to a vertical position. So I'll do it the same on the other side. First, I start basically in a horizontal position with the long edge down. I press down, and as I approach the end of the leaf, I come to a vertical. Now let's try the same stroke, a little bit more color on the end. So nearly horizontal, come down and finish up nearly vertical. This is the long edge in leaf. Now when you see this produced stroke, you start to think of all those beautiful leaves where you've seen some slight shadowing along the vein. Now for the long edge out leaf. And we're going to have the long edge on the outside of the leaf. So we start in a vertical position, then tilt your brush to paint with the flat of the sword with the outer long edge on the outside. Then lift the pressure and come back to a vertical. Then do the same for the other side. This was done with a synthetic brush. And now for the Sable brush quickly. As you see this stroke or practice this stroke, you'll start to see all those special leaves with borders or flower petals with borders. Number 3 is the sword belly tip. I lay my sword on the paper and then with full pressure, pulling down and lifting right up to a vertical tip with a slight twist to get you to the vertical tip. Now with the Sable, the whole sword down, give it a little twist. Our fourth leaf, the tip belly tip, is just like a round brush, with the tip first and then pressure and then lifting back to the tip. Now this is important. Now I have to show you something. See how the brush bent out of shape? It's time to rinse and reshape your brush. It's useless if it's not in the right shape. So this brush stroke is achieved by, with the long edge down, tip down first, adding pressure and then lifting. This is called the tip belly tip leaf, and now we'll try it with a synthetic brush. Both brushes lose their shape when used with the long edge and the tip. So an important takeaway today is to always keep reshaping your brush. You can use either of the daggers for a wavy long edge out leaf, which will give you a beautiful oak leaf. And now for the Sable brush. And I could have coloured in the middle, or you can just wet it. Our number 6 is a ZigZag long edge out leaf, which will give you a lovely serrated leaf. And of course, if you run out of paint as you're painting, you just have to pick up more. And you just wiggle your brush along the way. But you can see you can make absolutely beautiful shapes. I know you can see the potential in all these brush strokes. And just imagine the next time you're out there looking at leaves and flower petals and everything, you will see these brush strokes and you'll say to yourself, I can do that. When you're a beginner, it's easier to paint with a stiffer brush. It gives you a little bit more control. When I press down with the whole sword like this, I have paint and I have water and they've run together. And now I can make a little zigzag shape and it's all beautifully blending. I can re-dip and make a bit of a carnation. I can do the same with my Sable blend, like that. And then I can take my same brush and add a stem, a nice thick one, and come down and make it thinner. This is just to show you that you really can achieve any type of brushstroke with your dagger brush. And if you alternate the colours, look even better. And when they're nice and wet, they can run into each other. So I'm now going to use just the synthetic one. I'm going to paint a little flower with a lot of water in my brush and just creamy paint on the very tip. And it's great to turn your paper to make it easier. You need to be comfortable when you're doing this. Again, I'll put this time I'm going to have the tip up. I'm going to make a little bud of sorts. And now I'll put the tip in and create a loose one there. Now, time to wipe the brush, and I'll need some green. I can make a thin line. I can make some thin leaves. It's actually mind-blowing how much you can achieve with one brush. And let's say that some of these leaves were bigger down below. We'll try some with the dark edge in the center of the leaf and then a couple on the outer edge. That was all done with the synthetic one. And just for good measure, here's another with the synthetic Shiraz Dagger. This would be nice for a rose leaf, I think. So, in summary, if you're a beginner and you'd like more control, I would use the Shiraz Dagger. All you have to do is re-dip a little more often. If you'd like fluidity and broader brush strokes, why not use the Sable blend? Or if you're like me, you'll want to have both brushes. Anyway, they're very reasonably priced at Rosemary and Co, and the link's in the description. If you'd like to see more videos on how to use the Dagger brush, see the links here. And at school, we're going to be practicing and learning, and you're always welcome. There's a 7-day free trial, and the door's always open. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.